Hey, hello, this is John Lynn, lead programmer of BB Digital Lab LLC, and you're listening to or watching the BB&J Podcast. So today we are talking about leveraging your audience insight. On the Monday podcast, we were talking about learning about your audience, getting valuable information from your audience, and I'm back. Today we're talking about, okay, so like you have that information, So to get started, what is the most useful audience data? I mean, that's an important question, right? We talk about getting information on your audience, but what information really matters? What information is important? What information is the most useful? So kind of depends on what you're doing, obviously. What your audience cares about is one of the most important things. It's kind of like the video content of in terms of audience insight, in that you can like break it into a bunch of different things from there, right? So if you are looking for keywords, you can look at the kind of things that your audience cares about and focus on that in terms of keywords. So if your audience really cares about, like, let's say that you're a woodworker and your audience really cares about reuse, like being able to restore cracked or chipped wood. Well, then you can do cracked or chipped wood restoration as one of the keywords, and making sure to include that in your SEO and in your copy content. But having an idea of what they do or what they care about is very important for that reason. The second thing, what kind of relate, kind of the, I guess the antonym of that, or the opposite, is what they're afraid of, what they're concerned about. This really matters too. So if you, let's just keep going with the analogy. If they're scared of, oh my gosh, I got this amazing desk, I got this amazing table, or whatever it is, but I'm really worried about like putting stuff on it. I'm really worried about scuffing it or chipping it or scratching it. You can offer a solution to their concerns. That is what is really effective in terms of connecting with someone, is saying, here's the problem and here's the solution that I can provide for you. And then you go into like why you can effectively provide a solution, why it really matters. I mean, take this podcast, right? I'm saying, here's the issue. You're trying to figure out what to do with your knowledge of an audience. Here's the solution. Here's what you can do. Here's the important data. This is one of the things. I'd say the third big thing that you need to be learning, you need to know for your audience, is keywords, verbiage, or beyond keywords, verbiage, really. Verbiage is extremely important for understanding your audience and how to communicate to them and engage with them. So I've talked previously about when you're communicating with those struggling with addiction, you say individuals struggling with addiction, or people working through in recovery of addiction. You don't call them addicts. You don't call them, hey, you're a meth head, you're a weed smoker, because labeling them as that is just, it's not effective messaging. It puts off the wrong understanding of the nature of addiction and how it affects people's lives. Because addicts, individuals struggling with addiction are more than their addiction. They're more than the substance that they're having that they're working through, that they're dealing with, right? But those issues of verbiage are incredibly important. If you understand how to communicate and message in a way that your audience can relate to, your communications, your ads, your content is going to be much more effective. The second thing I'd like to talk about is kind of related to the keywords and learning about verbiage Okay, sorry about that. Which is the question of developing copy. Developing copy is extremely important. It's good for ads. It's good for descriptions. It's good for articles. You need it for even like video content or audio content. Writing the copy is incredibly necessary for doing it well, engaging with your audience, connecting with your audience, developing that consideration set. Everything under the sun is incredibly important, and the applications of developing ad copy. So the question is, how do you take what you know about the audience and turn that into ad copy? Well, what I was talking about with verbiage and learning about how your audience communicates, you put that into ad copy, or your copywriting in general. If you're writing something for an audience, communicating the way that your audience communicates with each other, especially in the context of whatever you're writing about, is incredibly effective and extremely important. Leverage what you know, leverage the work you've put into learning about your audience for this purpose, amongst other things. Understanding the keywords, as I talked about previously, also very important. If my audience is searching for particular keywords commonly, I want to be using those keywords. I want to be talking on their terms, but also hitting those search terms that they're using, because I want to show up more. I want to show up more on Google. I want to show up more on their Facebook feeds. I want to show up more on Twitter for them. And specifying the copy, customizing it and tailoring it for certain keywords that are commonly used is just going to improve everything, both on the back end with all the algorithms, but also on the front end. Because if they're searching, how do I fix this wood thing? And you're including keywords of this is how you fix this wood thing, or how do I fix this wood thing? Read on to find out, or watch on to find out. That works really well, obviously. You're answering their questions, their specific questions. If that's something they care about, that's something they're searching, you want to be the answer. You want to be the expert. You want to be knowledgeable and certain in how you present it. This is what it is. I've done this before, worked with a lot of people like this. You do A, B, and C. That's how you do it. And that's something I can do, right? Third thing I'd like to talk about is kind of related. I kind of touched on it earlier, is developing video content. So copy is important, but I cannot stress this enough. Video content is incredibly important. It's the ultimate form of distribution. It's the ultimate content for distribution. Video content is the ultimate tool of engagement, cross-platform. You got your thumbnails, you got your screen caps, you got your text your transcripts, you got your clips, you got the main video, you got the audio. Video is incredibly powerful. You just need to get in front of the camera. But once you're in front of the camera, you need to use what you know about your audience to effectively engage with them. And there's no better place, really, to utilize and employ or deploy what you know about your audience than video content. What does this mean, though? So you take those keywords, you take those questions, you take those concerns and those fears, and you answer that with a video, right? You say, hey, You have a scratch, you show a scratch in their nice table. You say, here's how you can cover any wood table scratch in under an hour, or for under whatever, you know, or here's how you can cover up a scratch that not even, I don't know, your guests, or if they're trying to sell a house, not even um, a, a property inspector. I don't know if that's the exact term, but like, you know, someone who checks the house, or not even a prospective buyer will notice. Understanding who you're targeting, understanding what they're concerned about is incredibly powerful, because you can turn that into video content, addressing those concerns, addressing what they care about, what they're passionate about, right? Presenting it in a way that's going to connect with your audience. That's what it's about. That's what all this is about. Presenting information, guidance, expertise, whatever it may be, in a way that's highly engaging for your audience, for whatever purpose you need it to. You know, if you're doing a likes campaign, if you're doing a click campaign, if you're trying to sell a product, if you're trying to sell yourself, it's all important. Understanding your audience is always important. I'd like to leave you with that. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. Quick little plug. If you're interested in ads management, or learning how to do, to clarify, if you're interested in learning things like developing your Google business, if you don't have a Google My Business, you should probably have a Google My Business. We will shortly be offering a course in that exact subject, setting up your Google business effectively. If you're interested, keep an eye out, and by the time this podcast comes out, it may be ready now. If that's something you're not sure about, uncertain about, it's a great place to start. It's a great place to get that expert insight and guidance into that. And that's all under the BB Digital Lab umbrella. I'd like to thank you so much for listening and watching, as I mentioned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.